All right, welcome back. Could you conclude your thoughts on the borders and the revenue?
So there are three major things that allows us to really understand if what is happening at semi-border is a problem. So the first is customs in 2014, when everything was sane, earned 977 billion naira as the total income from vehicles, imports, duties, exercise, everything, 977 billion naira. Now, the revenue from vehicles, 144 billion naira. Now, that's just approximately 14% of their total revenue. So yes, vehicles are important, but vehicles don't contribute to majority of customs revenue. However, let's look at revenue that they've earned at semi-border. Now, within that same period, 2014, it said semi-border gave them a total revenue of 9.6 billion naira. And that's vehicles and every other thing. So let's make it simple. Let's assume all the 9.6 billion naira was from vehicles. It simply means that the semi-border trade accounts for only 6% of vehicle revenue for the customs service.
Let's jump to how it represents in GDP figures.
So in GDP, why all of this is connected to GDP is there's a sector that comes up when we're looking at why we have to clamp down on border trade, and that's the motor assembly sector. So as at the end of last year, it was 70 billion naira. Now that seems to sound like a lot of money, but relative to a 95 trillion naira GDP, that is very insignificant. However, if you look at the real GDP numbers as measured by constant GDP, what you find is from the first quarter of last year, we've seen a consistent decline.
Even from first quarter of 2015?
Yes, exactly. So we've seen a consistent decline. So Chamberlain, if you compare what has happened today as relative to the first quarter of 2015, the motor assembly sector has declined by approximately 44%. That's almost half.
I'm curious though, you talk about the semi-border, contributing just a very small percentage in terms of revenue. But when the customs says, look, the reason why we think we're not getting as much is because the system can be easily compromised. Do you think that counts for anything?
Yes, perhaps the system can be compromised, but if the system is compromised, who takes responsibility for that? That's the question we need to ask. And at the end, we want to find out that what is the objective? If we want to earn revenue, that is on the assumption that if we lock those borders, the demand from the terminals will increase. But is that right? Will demand increase even though the cost of acquisition increases? I don't think it will be proportional. I do think even if demand for used cars will increase, it won't be significant. But really, do we want demand for used cars to even increase? And so just yesterday, Chamberlain, before we leave, the Bureau of Statistics brought out a new population forecast. Now, the new numbers we are looking as national figures is 193 million. But that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is the fact that only 4.6 million Nigerians are now are forecasted, or in reality above the age of 70. So you only have a 2% chance to live beyond 70. And what's part of the reasons that's causing this? Pollution from used vehicles and a lot of environmental degradation. So even though we want to increase revenue, we have to look at the revenue. If it does increase, will come for an inflow of used cars, not new cars. And then we know what used cars do. It damages the environment and leads to further pollution, which is now reducing the probability that we'll live to be here when we're 70.
Interesting statistics from the MBS. Jide, thank you for coming on this morning, and that's the show today as well on our anniversary week. Well, thank you all for watching. I'm Chamberlain Osal. Well,
it's been a delight presenting here from Lagos, and that part about environmental degradation is something we should all take very seriously. Thank you, Maokwe Ogun.
Goodbye.